edit this down. So
Well,
when
hello
actually
there.
when you decide to start, you can actually edit the beginning.
I'm not going to do that. All right, so today we'll be debating 3 important topics. There's the first one that exists.
Yes.
Loot boxes and microtransactions.
Loot boxes and microtransactions. Then we'll be arguing what is a better random thing, dice or cards. And then I'll be arguing for my boy Ajit Pai for against net neutrality. So, all right, let's go. Who wants to go first? Because loot boxes and microtransactions are indeed the way of the future.
Please elaborate.
Well, loot boxes and microtransactions are what allow games to continually make money and keep them updated, such as League of Legends, Overwatch, all sorts of things.
Yes.
Without them, some of our favorite games would go out of style and we wouldn't be able to play them as long. They help keep the company going for those who are willing to purchase for them.
It's a good argument. What say you?
I disagree strongly, because it's there are other ways a game can try and make money.
Whatever you say, side of Scott's head.
There are other ways for a game to try and make money. They could give a more honest price up front for how much you would have to pay. You could it's more about not trying to make a game pay to win, because if it's a competitive game where it's online and someone who they've played for the same amount of time as the other person, but they've actually spent a lot of money to try and get better gear, they obviously have a very unfair advantage.
Your point of view?
Personally, I believe that microtransactions have their place in video games going forward. As you said, a way to make money for games, but not as a pay-to-win type thing, as in they add stuff to the game that doesn't affect core gameplay, especially in competitive games, doesn't affect the competitive scene at all, such as like with Overwatch, with exclusive like skins and outfits and things like that. They don't actually affect the game at all, but are just fun things that people actually would want to buy, because if people want to buy them, they should be able to buy them.
Except Underworld Twisted Fate in League of Legends, because you can't see his cube. That's go on.
But if we go to like things like Star Wars Battlefront 2, also I think there's a
the pinnacle of
microtransactions. I believe that playing the game and actually becoming better at the game through loot boxes system is just like completely dishonest, on top of the fact that you've already paid $60 for this game. If it was from a mobile game perspective, where games are free to play, and you progress that way, that's a completely different story than already having paid $60 for a game.
Okay. Under your point about having a more honest price for games up front, thing is, the price of games has been, like, for new big releases, has been $60 for a long time now. The problem is the price of buying them isn't going up, but the price of making them still is going up.
Mm-hmm.
And they need some way to make money, because instead of raising the prices, they know sales will go down considerably. And EA, the master of microtransactions, this is where it's going to get fun. You could say that for EA, I agree that their current system for microtransactions, or whichever, if it's still a thing or not, is flawed. But how they could separate it is use players' matching system. Usually competitive games have certain skilled players we match up against other skilled players. Well, you could put another filter in the system that puts players who pay a lot for the game to be matched up typically with other players who pay a lot for the game. That way, those players can still play as Darth Maul and Boba Fett a lot faster, and also, if they don't feel like leveling up like normal players.
Okay. Well, you're definitely making points.
You have made an argument, sir.
I have made an argument.
Good job.
And they're not horrible points.
But they're also bad. Please continue.
However, not every like some people who might still want to be able to like play with people that they've known for a very long time, and so like it might be, but they.
I will help out Emily's point here. You make the argument that people have paid lots of money against people who haven't paid lots of money, like match them up in that kind of matchmaking like thing. But where's the cutoff there? Obviously, there's not going to be enough people that have paid the exact same amount of money to kind of support this kind of system that you're proposing, so that there will be, even in between those kinds of things, there will be a gap between the upper and lower tiers of a certain system. It's like, oh, these people have paid the most money. However, the highest person who's paid the most money is still going to have a better advantage of the person that's paid the lowest money in this tier matchmaking thing.
I think that still applies to normal competitive games that don't have pay-to-win systems, because there are still players that are more skilled than others. And I don't know if you've played League of Legends, but when a bunch of silver friends get matched up against diamond and platinum teams every once in a while, it can get irritating. But there's always going to be slight mismatching, and that just can't be helped. But the point is, have it balanced enough so we can still enjoy the game.
But isn't the point of the game to play the game and get better at it, instead of going up against someone who is just paid money to be better at the game than you?
That's why you would match up paid players against paid players. But you also have to compensate that not everyone enjoys games in the same way. It would be nice to have all play styles incorporated for multiple players to be able to play.
But for paid players, what is the difference between someone who's paid for 1,000 loot boxes and has all the best gear that gives them the best competitive advantages, and against this one person who bought that one skin they really liked?
That's just a matter of balancing the filtering system better. Because you could have one player who spent $1,000, and then again, if they have spent $1,000, this doesn't really support the argument, but they might also not be good at the game. Guaranteed
But now
that.
they have an
It's a duo filter system between skill and pay to play. It'll make like, I don't know, maybe 10 or so 20-second longer queues, but it will balance it out a lot better.
Is it
depending
fair
on
to
how
charge
you
someone
limit
to
the
be
system.
better at a game that they've already paid $60 for, to essentially play the game to begin with?
That was the first argument.
Or have them
You keep making money in a game.
Well, I know it's how you keep money, but how is that fair to a consumer to be like, okay, you paid $60, now you have to keep paying to play the game?
But you don't.
Or have
With
to wait.
microtransactions to progress your character wouldn't.
The whole point of microtransactions is that you don't have to pay for them. You can still level up.
Yeah,
without
you can
them.
just wait 4,000 plus hours to try and get all the things.
That's what the matchmaking system for is, because if it's a balanced matchmaking system, other players. Part of it, the reason people feel they have to buy microtransactions is because they feel everyone else is doing it and they want to catch up. But if you're matched with other players who also, you're going to be matched with other players who typically also haven't paid much else into the game, then don't feel as forced to, but you still can if you want to have that feeling of leveling up faster.
Mm-hmm. But that still doesn't, like, is it fair to have someone have to go through the very long stretch of time of like 4,000 plus hours just to try and get?
That's just a matter of whether or not the game is good. Which is irrelevant.
Okay. Do you have any closing arguments?
No.
No? Closing arguments, Emily?
I think that loot boxes and microtransactions, as they are not a good system, and they currently feel way too pay to win than they should.
Okay.
It's good
I've made pretty much all my points against that, so that still works.
Great. Let's move on to the next thing.
All right. Dice v cards. Which one's better?
Emily, you should start off this time.
All right. Well, as a person who has played a lot of tabletop games, I prefer dice over cards, because it's just the feel of rolling dice. And the emotional impact of when you see the dice just kind of barely land on that 20 instead of that 2. It increases the player satisfaction.
All right. Undecided voter.
I would like to hear what you have to say about cards.
Oh, you would?
Yes,
what
yes,
are
I
the
would.
odds? Oh wait, I know the odds. At least I know they're better to calculate with cards. So, anyways, cards offer a lot more options, obviously, as well as the fact that they're more highly randomized. You being an experienced player of board games, you are that you oftentimes have to roll 2 dice instead of 1, which is in games besides D&D.
In games that I've played where I've had to roll 2 dice, it's not. There are other ways that it makes up for rolling 2 dice. Like if you as you probably are going to mention.
I hadn't gotten my point yet, but yeah, go on.
As you're
just
when you
go
roll
on.
2
You're on
dice,
a roll.
there
Like
are
this.
there are games where you have to roll 2 dice, but like that doesn't lessen the enjoyment or impact of the game.
All right.
They clatter. They also clatter in your hands, which sounds very
I will
nice.
admit that's nice.
It's a good feeling.
But if you can shuffle, that also feels nice too.
Not everyone can shuffle.
Yeah, that's why it feels good after you practice and succeed on it.
No, not everyone in a game can shuffle.
Like how I'm right now arguing against my previous point of practicing to win. Anyways,
when you not like normally you'll shuffle a deck once per game, so only one person
this
would.
is not true.
Well, not on average.
Okay.
You would shuffle it once, maybe a couple more times throughout the game, and then it would just leave there. It doesn't happen often that you would shuffle and then like draw a card and then like the next person would shuffle. Like not everyone would get that immediate satisfaction that everyone would get rounds upon rounds of rolling dice.
All right. As that point I was originally making beforehand, dice, when you typically have to use more than one, are more likely to land in center values, such as for 2 dice, 7 is the most likely value to be rolled.
Mm-hmm.
Cards are truly random. Well, you could say a lot of board games, people who make games and are good at it, they balance them around this and balance them around that 7 is the most likely number, and they usually kind of balance it around so like it'll take a certain amount of rolls to beat the game, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But this is still RNG. Cards have a random value, but you can also, they're more versatile because they can also be completely random if you continually shuffle them, or you can run out of cards, and if you are really good, it rewards high skill cap players who can figure out what cards are left, how many you need, whether you can win the game or not based off purely random chance. If you want, you have extra choices with cards.
Mm-hmm. As you literally just mentioned, you can build, like, it's not difficult to make a card, make a system that, like, is centered around the 7 value.
Like Shadowhunters.
Yes, exactly like Shadowhunters.
Even though it's a d6 and a 4, so
yes.
It's different, but whatever.
Yes, exactly like Shadowhunters, actually.
Mm.
Personally, from somewhere in the middle, I think the best form of randomness is just a gigantic wheel that you spin. Sometimes there's fortune involved. To give with all the different values. I think it is the most fun way, and like it's the best way to play random things. It's not just with games that you guess letters on the board for. It's for like games that you move around for movement and things, and all your different options for you to just spin and for it to randomly land on a certain value that you get to move, or gives you all of your options.
Personally, I have never spun the Wheel Fortune wheel or the wheel on The Price is Right, but I know for a fact it is so much more satisfying than shuffling decks of cards.
It's very true.
Or rolling scrubby little dice. But you've convinced me. You win. You can do that. It's a debate.
There's also collector's dice.
No, I
personally... I would personally rather have the wheel from Wheel of Fortune than a D60.
Not like yes, D60 collector's dice, but also there's metal dice, there's dice made of stone.
But the Wheel of Fortune...
They come in such pretty colors.
This is like arguing potatoes versus birthday cake. What did you...
I think we've effectively made our closing argument here. Emily, what is your closing argument?
Dice are fun.
So is a big wheel full of colors and money on it, but
I think we're at an impasse
Yes,
here.
we are in an impasse.
We've reached an impasse.
Let's move on to our final thing.
Truly, we will never decide what's better. It's wheels. Anyways, net neutrality. All right, I'll let one of you two go first for this one. Oh, just prep my argument.
I don't know how this deals with games or leadership, so I'm just gonna let you
because
guys have at
Agent
it.
Pie
Is overstepping his leadership bounds.
is handsome and that's really and ingenious.
He
Okay?
is overstepping and not listening to the people below him. That is a horrible leader right
All right.
there.
Personally,
You need to listen to people's advice and input, because if you don't, they will get upset and it's bad.
I don't know if you've attended any psychology classes, because I haven't, but you know that oftentimes what people say isn't actually what they want. Like, for example, Henry Ford, this somewhat relates to this. If he had asked people, what would you want? Like, they said they want a faster horse. Instead, he gave them a car, which was better and a heavy improvement. They didn't ask for that, but he still made an improvement.
Do you have any like sources to back up this information? 'Cause I feel like you're just pulling that out of your ass.
No, that's
I agree
a very,
wholeheartedly.
that's a very common thing.
I don't believe that, but okay.
Like,
Did people really go up to Henry Ford and be like, "Hey, we want a faster horse"?
No,
That's what you
I'm
just
saying.
said.
I'm saying if he had asked them, they would have wanted a
Okay.
faster horse.
Okay.
Instead, he got
Question,
them a
that's fine.
car.
That's yep. Okay.
And Henry Ford also said this. Anyways,
He said, I made faster horse. It's called car.
I feel like you're flipping my words a little bit.
I'm not flipping your words at all.
You're right. That was indeed a direct quote. My apologies.
Yep.
Anyways, sometimes in the case of net neutrality, if you hadn't noticed, people can do illegal things with net neutrality, such as free movies, free music, all this sorts of things. And due to everything, like all sorts of being free nowadays, it is hurting the economy a little bit. And it's
You know what else is hurting the economy? Small businesses not being able to pay the price that like internet providers would have to charge them in order to put them like in a fast lane package.
Okay. One thing you realize is net neutrality wasn't passed until 2015.
Not true.
Okay.
Net neutrality has been a thing. In 2015, it was reclassified as essentially like a utility.
That the
it
internet
could be,
is a utility.
Yes, so that it could be regulated the same as like drinking water and things like that.
Essentially, it was mostly net neutrality beforehand, but this made it more easy to regulate.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Ajit Pai is just like, nah, screw that. ISPs can do whatever they want.
Don't you dare speak against my boy Ajit Pai.
It's irrelevant to this conversation.
Good point. All right.
I'm just here to bring factual information.
Thank you.
One thing is, a lot of what the consequences of net neutrality are hypotheticals at this point. Likely, they will know, unless all cable providers, internet providers, like get in and agree to make things cost more or to limit other websites. Because normally, if someone does that, one of the other internet providers will realize, wait, all I have to do is not do that, and more people will come to me.
That's assuming that internet providers don't already have localized monopolies, which they do.
Actually, wouldn't monopolies help this in a little bit in this case?
No. Just no.
Not all of them are the same internet provider.
Not all of them are the same internet
But in
provider,
many
but
areas,
in many areas
there's
you have
only
one
one
option.
option.
Yes, they
Normally
can.
Comcast.
They can monopolize each other, but again, these are all hypotheticals.
There's not a hypothetical.
It's not a hypothetical. There's only
No,
one.
not the monopoly part. The bit that they're immediately going to
Sure,
make
let's
their
just
own
remove
companies
the thing
run
that,
faster, because they can. They can make their own companies or streaming services run faster and make others run slower in the providers. But that's just a bad business idea. It'll probably happen to a small degree, but I feel like it's been over-exaggerated. The issue with this has been over-exaggerated a lot.
It's a fair argument.
But if you remove the thing that's stopping them from doing that, then there's nothing saying that they won't just do that. Like, there's nothing preventing them. There's no
Okay, there's
Closing arguments?
no.
Okay, no closing argument from Casey. Emily, do you have a closing argument?
Wait, no.
It's bad.
It's a
Great.
Anyways,
Your argument.
it's a general point of business that bad business decisions make you lose customers. I know it's a monopoly and they control a lot, but that doesn't mean they can do whatever they want without consequence. They own it, but they can also lose things. It doesn't mean they control the world if they own Netflix. And, I don't know, a bunch of other things. I don't know much about the internet.
Okay. Emily, do you have a closing argument?
You. Wait a minute.
Okay.
You can't just. If they're in a monopoly and they do a bad thing, someone's not just gonna be like, I guess I'm never using the internet again because I can't. No, I don't want to use them, but I can't go anywhere else without moving. It's bad.
Wow. That was amazing.
Thank you.
I think we're done here.
I believe we are.
And
Wait, no.
What? Do you
I
have
was
more
raving.
arguments
I
here?
raved
I'm
about
thinking. It's difficult. Ooh.
I'm done.
Ooh,
We're
I'm
done.
thinking.
Bye.
Sorry, thinking about.